All right. Got a nice little episode here, little chit chat. I wouldn't say episode because it's not a podcast. It's just an old guy talking. But I was having a discussion about dating younger people and should men or shouldn't men. And so I got nice feedback about it, and I'm going to use the voice notes that I got and respond to them in in whatever, just kind of having a conversation, although it seems a little one sided. Um, so I took a woman's appeal, or not appeal, but ideals, and I'm going to use them to create this episode. Uh, this comes from a mother of two who genuinely is of a rather, I would say, conservative viewpoint. So um, I'm going to try to argue that the viewpoints a bit, but I'm conservative as well. But again, as I've learned, as you know me, you know, as I've learned through life, we were really fed a lot of things that we don't know why we fed them, but that we believe them. It's just kind of our society as U.S. Americans or whatever you want to call it. And so when it comes down to that, um, we just kind of do things and we don't necessarily have backing. Now, I will say that in this situation, she won't be able to respond to my questions, but she will be able to hear what I say and then respond again. But I'm going to attempt to, I guess, poke holes in the theories of why we believe what we believe, because I think I started in a similar place as her, but now I am challenging my own beliefs, which align with her beliefs, to see if there's something there. Okay, so this is my first time attempting this, so it's going to be a little bit awkward, but hopefully you can hear her, and we'll just let it ride and see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to pause periodically or take notes, and we'll just go with that. You know what I'm saying? So let me set up my other iPad. I got a lot going on. Let's see here. Okay, there we go there. And then let's give it a go. Okay, so let's just.
So, that comment that I said, it was nothing, was something that I didn't used to think about. Like the fact that I think brains don't really fully develop until we're like 24 to 26. I think it's different for males and females. But a woman, especially at 20, barely knows anything of the world, right? And you, as a man, or any man over, like, I would say even like 10 to, I don't know, 20 years older, I feel like that changes. So, like a 26-year-old woman and like a 50-year-old man, even like a 28-year-old woman and a 50-year-old man or something like that, like, I don't know, she's seen more of life, she's done more things, but 20 is like fresh out the gate. And then you're going in there with this sponge of a brain, meaning you're still very emotionally centered. So whether you want to be or not, you're very easily manipulated by things, and you're still very naive about things.
So right there, I will speak on that idea. Um, the sponge of the brain is an interesting thing. Thinking about this idea of a quinceanera and what that represents is a woman becoming a woman, basically getting her period and all that other stuff. In historical times, when a woman returned 15, she was basically ready to be wed. So we in a society now, in at least a Western society, I would say we say that doesn't work until she's somewhere in her 20s or 25, you know. But biologically, it's when she's 15. That's how the number was kind of come up with, I believe. So the sponge of the brain thing is interesting because if you consider if men are good men and you have a sponge brain, Are you saying a 20-year-old should date someone from 18 to 24, male, 20-year-old female, who is going to have just as little concept of what the world is and what life is, and just as much potential to screw her up in life with no recourse or no remorse or no way of making anything pan out to her benefit, let alone having a job that can at least benefit her what's the word? Tactile is not the word. Her tangible life, if you will. So would you subscribe that she should date a boy that is between her age group so that they can make mistakes together? Or are you saying that a man that is, 40 or 50, which is what I understand 20, 23-year-olds go for 40 to 50-year-olds intentionally, um, this guy, this 50-year-old, 40-year-old guy, isn't dicking around, so to speak. He's pretty much been through life, figured it out, and isn't going to like, hey, maybe feed her a line just to get her to do something, but say, hey, here's what I'm here for. Here's what you're here for. You haven't figured it out yet, but let me show you the ropes so that you can get through it. Versus you dealing with these basically F boys who are 18, 16, 23, don't know what they want to do, but know they want to make some mistakes doing it, and they have no way of making anything worth anything. And so with that sponge brain, you are absorbing crap from a child, basically, and you use these things. This is the thing about women and trauma, is that no matter when you start dating or who you start dating, the traumas that you learn from that person, you're going to carry forward for the rest of your life. So the option is you date a guy who is surely going to screw it up and have no way of helping you through it, or you date a guy who's probably going to screw it up because most relationships fail, but could potentially show you how to benefit from it or grow through it. And I don't see how that's a negative thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Let's continue.
Sponge of a brain,
let's
meaning
go here.
You're still very emotionally centered. So whether you want to be or not, you're very easily manipulated by things, and you're still very naive about things. And
now I will say, aren't we all manipulating each other? Isn't that just what a relationship is? Uh, you are here in a relationship with a man to manipulate basically the things you need out of him by means of either coercion or cooperation, but you are trying to manipulate him to some extent to what you want. Wouldn't it be better to have somebody do that who understands more of the scheme of what they're doing and what the aim is, rather than somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, right? So we're all manipulating anyway. We all go into relationships for something other than what we bring to the relationship. And manipulation is a strong word for it. But again, would you rather be manipulated by somebody who's guiding you because they've seen the bullcrap in life, or somebody who's just guessing and shooting at the hip and has nothing to kind of shield you from? It's just going to be a roller coaster with no rails, basically. I'm not sure the manipulation thing doesn't exist in either of the relationships.
As an older man, you almost take on a father role, whether you realize it or not, in that situation, which, I don't know, I'm sure Freud has a lot to say about that. And it just, like, I mean, if you want to nurture somebody and help them grow and whatever, but like,
I do have to pause there. The father role thing is interesting because there is a demographic of women who seek older men when they don't have a proper father figure as they grow up. They seek that older male role model in their life. So so she's going to be seeking a guy that's older either way. And men who are older and understand women understand that the older the woman is, the more bullshit she's dealt with. Therefore, seeking a younger woman is almost nature. Like, I want to find somebody who isn't so screwed up that I can't find redemption in the relationship. And she wants to find somebody that's old enough and wise enough and can make her feel like he's proud of her in some sense, which may be a screwed up thing in some ways, but she's going to look for it either way. And I know that's not like a, drug dealers are going to sell drugs no matter what type of case. But at the same time, the father figure thing, again, if men are decent, if you are a decent man who's earning and doing and taking care of your things and not out to necessarily take advantage of somebody, but in relationship, you are taking advantage of somebody, kind of, right? It's not in a negative sense, but you are taking advantage of the fact that, hey, I date a guy who's a weatherman and he has access to blank X, Y, and Z. So I always know exactly where to go or where to be when I go on vacation. So I'm taking advantage of his skills. And that's a very outside, obscure view of it. But if you date a guy that's a mechanic, are you not going to take advantage of his skills and let him fix your car for cheaper or for free? You know, and if you date a beautiful girl, are you not going to I don't know how you take advantage of that. You just date her, you take her places, you walk around and you look better because you have a younger beautiful woman on your arm. So I don't know, continuing here.
Like, yeah, when you throw sex into that between the 20 and 40 thing, it feels predatorial in a lot of ways. Like, you're using um the advantage that you have over her naivety to kind of like get to her. And I'm not saying you do these things, I'm just saying, like, in general, um like a man would use her naivety and her everything to kind of manipulate and make into what he wants. And it just, I don't know, because again, you're taking on more of a parent role, not really a love.
I would say there should be a distinction. There should be communication. A man dating a young woman should teach her how to communicate and understand. Look here, woman, I'm not your father. Um, you're going to learn some things from me. But the thing about the parent role in a relationship is that doesn't change whether she's 20, 30, or 40. Any woman that you're in a relationship with, you become the dominant male person in her life. You take over the place of her father, basically. I mean, if you think about it, marriage and everything considered, and you teach her and you grow her. So the father hands the woman off to the man that he thinks he can trust to mature her and to grow her properly. It's just a symbolic thing. And so it's always a parent role. I recently did a video called Child, Woman, and Man, and it's not in a degrading way, but it's just we spend the time with our women treating them and teaching them and growing them as the same as we would a kid, except for there is sex involved. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only real big difference because, and in fact, we love our kids unconditionally, just like we love our wives unconditionally. So the difference is it's not a sexual relationship. I'm still your senior. I'm still the person you look up to. I'm still the person that requires your respect. And I dole out love unconditionally, even when you do wrong. And I speak and say the things you need to say a million times until you get it or you don't get it. And I continue to be there to show you that it's okay. It's actually a child's role to a father is only 18 years, where his spouse's role can be 50 years of teaching and growing and learning her and guiding her through life. So it's a very similar thing, actually, once you take the sex out of the equation. So putting the sex into the equation, to me, doesn't make it a negative equation just because she's broken like every other woman. That's nothing new. I'm saying, as every woman is broken and has traumas, why not, as a decent, upstanding gentleman in the world, give her fewer traumas or cut to the chase of here's the trauma of relationships. There's going to be a breakup at some point. It's going to hurt, but it's not going to be over some bull crap where you see something on social media and a dude is, it's not Skype anymore, whether you Snapchatting a girl, and it's like some high school drama. This is like a real breakup. If we break up, we break up. But most likely a dude that's older that's dating a girl, he already understands the risks of it. I think he's more exposed to risk than she is because she's going to go through breakups either way. But he's not there to date and to break up just to screw around. He's there for simple, concise what relationships are about. I want somebody that's close to me, that loves me, that's open to me, that looks up to me, and that learns and listens from me. I want the same thing for my kids, minus the sex. Um, so it's just a different dynamic at that part. But in general, dating a younger woman is no different than dating an older woman, except for you have less to fight through, to undo based on her living with less 18-year-old pieces of shit, you know? Now, I can see now I can see how for women it's different. A woman dating an 18-year-old boy is different. You know, that's just sex. And I believe that maybe that's the part where they don't see the other side of the token and they look at us like predators because for a woman to date a young man, he's not offering her anything but dick. For a man to date a young woman, he has to bring everything else before he can give dick. You see what I'm saying? Like, otherwise, just a creepy old dude. Like, if it's completely different, you know? And so, back on the woman dating a young man, he can't offer you anything besides a fun time. And it's a woman trying to harken back to her younger age, trying to prove that she still got what it takes because women are in competition with women younger than them, and men are in competition with men older than them. You know what I'm saying? And so I could see why a woman wouldn't date a younger man because there's no benefit to it except for stamina in the bedroom and curiosity. But you would be actually taking on a son role, and women don't want to see a son as a mate because you lose attraction to a son when he or a mate when he can't lead you, right? So if you date a half-age boy, he can't lead you. He can show you a good time from here and there, but he can't lead you through life. So you will inevitably lose attraction for him. Whereas for men, when we come to women, we aren't looking to be led. So perhaps that conflation comes from the fact that women don't necessarily comprehend the other side of the coin when it comes to dating younger. And they would see it as any guy dating a younger girl is doing it to achieve sex that he couldn't otherwise achieve elsewhere. However, he could because even 40-year-old girls are still out in the bar, 50-year-old girls are still in the bar. You can find sex anywhere, but to get sex from somebody in their prime, you have to offer something or you're a rapist, pretty much, right? So I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily manipulation or predatorial. It is chemistry wise. Women are more fertile and less damaged as they break into womanhood rather than 20 years later. And if a man is looking to procreate and not have all the extra trauma and other things going on, his ideal match would be somebody who's 21, 23 years old. Now, as a man, the ideal match for a man is actually the prime of a man is in his 40s. And so, why would you date a boy that doesn't have a job? Or why would you date a man who hasn't established himself yet? You want a man who knows what he's got, knows what he's bringing, has trajectory, knows what he's got to offer, and knows how to work himself in the bedroom as well. So, you don't get that until you're late in your 30s and 40s. That's when men break into their prime. So, the prime of a man is 40, the prime of a woman is 20. If you're at your prime, that's when you need to be finding a prime match because that way you can make an optimal growth for the child. Now that I'm 40 and I run some stuff and I got people working for me, I don't have to miss the plays and the concerts. I can be there for my kid. I can afford to take them on vacation and buy them nice things. And you know what I mean? Whereas when I'm 38 and I'm hustling and my wife is 32 and she's hustling and we got to figure out how to do daycare and one's going to be at the soccer game and one's going to be at the concert, that's a little more hectic of a life. So technically, because we come from different angles, at my prime and at her prime, that would logically, which is why rich dudes probably date young chicks, plus the fact that they kind of just respect him like a father figure. So if he says, hey, don't do this or do that, they just do it because they know not doing it means you don't get whatever it is that you're there for, money or otherwise. But it's simpler. And again, as guys get older, we want a simpler life. And so I don't know, that kind of makes sense. Let's continue on here. Let's see if I can find this part.
And her, everything to kind of manipulate and make into what he wants. And it just, I don't know, because again, you're taking on more of a parent role, not really a lover or a spouse or someone who's, you know, going to be a partner. You're really just parenting them at that point. And they don't see it like that. And I think the potential for it to all just end ungracefully is just so much more. And
again, the woman would be parenting the boy for sure. The man is always parenting or leading. That's what parenting is. It's guiding you, helping you to become a better version of yourself. That's strange for women, but not for men. The potential for catastrophic failure is always there anytime two humans collide, no matter what the age difference is. So that's not special for dating young people, I would say. Continuing.
And that's kind of where I land with it. Sorry, I'm reading your questions again. But yeah, they're not capable. I mean, at 20, you're a selfish brat. It's all about you. You're making these decisions that you can't. It's like the same thing when you think of a 20-year-old who thinks that they're trans and wants to take all their body parts off of them. It's, you're making these huge decisions about your life with these people who are different than you and in a different part of their life. And you're not basing them off of your life.
That selfish brat concept is a very real thing. I would say who's at risk of that is actually the man when dealing with a selfish brat of a kid, because he's going to come to her with an understanding of what life is really about and offer her what it takes to be a partner in a relationship. And she in turn is going to reject it for her selfish ambitions or lack of understanding of what it is. And thus, he will have extended himself some way because you have to prove yourself first. And then it'll be thrown in his face. And that's painful. That's rejection. That's a waste of a trip to Cancun or whatever it is that he could offer her. And there's no recouping that. When you invest in women, there's no recouping it. Any real man, you just cut your losses. So the real threat or risk is on the man when dealing with a woman like that, I would say.
I don't want to be a part of that regret when it comes to someone like that. I don't want to be that for somebody. As far as the youngest that I flirted with, I think it was like 12 years younger than me. I have pretty strict rules when it comes to that type of thing. And I am not interested in a younger man. Have never really been interested in younger men.
And that makes sense because younger men, what can they offer you? As you've come through life, get up to your 20s to start realizing you really need those failed relationships to understand what bullshit is when you're dealing with the opposite sex. Get through your 20s, get into your 30s, get through your 30s, get into your 40s. You don't have time for bullshit. A 18 or 20-year-old guy has nothing to offer. And you know that. So there is no interest for women. And this is completely describing the term hypergamy. Women have to see something that equal or better. Young boys are not equal to you, so you can't necessarily be attracted to them. Although you may, and obviously there are cougar situations that happen. I was a cougar chaser when I was in high school. My biggest deficit was when I was 18, she was 33. When I was 24, she was 46. I've always been into older women for that reason, but it was really because I like to think it's because I was raised by a woman and I had that hearkening to what I was used to versus dealing with girls, in the same sense, a woman that's raised without a father lacks something and goes out to find it in the world. A man who's raised by women knows something and goes to find the similarities in it in the world because we do it differently, our traumas, okay? So, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not interested in younger women either. Actually, more so than even younger men.
And that is an interesting statement. Not younger women either, because we all know women are the dangerous ones when it comes down to it. Dealing with an 18-year-old boy or a 6-year-old boy, even, and a 6-year-old girl, which one's the one that's going to really do some damage? Little girls are pure evil sometimes, and little boys are just, kind of dumb, and they make some mistakes, but it's kind of, you can catch them in their lies. You can catch them with their hand in the cookie jar. The girls are the conniving ones, and as you get up past the teenage years, when little girls really become hellions, yeah. And then you get into the 20s where it's all about the mall and cell phones. Yeah, there's nothing constructive there. So, dealing with younger women as an older woman, there is an innate competition between them. So it's not like you don't even maybe feel it, but there is an innate, like, hey, this is my, because obviously makeup is made to make women look younger. Why would you do that? It's because you're competing with younger women. So when you get to the place where it's like, that's way too young, I can't even compete with that almost. There becomes like just a hard break. Like, I'm not even dealing with anything down here on the subconscious side of it. But on the conscious side of it, you used to be 20 years old. You know what you were. You know how you did things. You know you were here, there, or the other ways. And so you don't want to assimilate with people that make those silly choices, probably, who think that's a logical choice to make. And that's understandable too on both ends of it. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Let me see if I can catch you where you were.
That with our youth, we need to look to nurture them, and we need to look to maybe provide for them, and we need to educate them a little bit. But I don't think we need to be screwing them. I don't think we need to be having sex with them. I think we need to treat them as the possible children that they could be in our lives, and hold them to that. It's that
I would call that an Eastern philosophy, as all old people look out for young people. Out in the West, once you become an adult, you literally are kicked to the wolves a lot of times. It's just a natural way we do it. I'm not out here adopting kids. I am going to be a father figure to all young boys. And I will also, for me, I don't know why I have a hard line for how young of a woman I'll date. But this is what this whole concept is about. Is it's like, well, so why does that exist? I think it's because of my mother and the women that raised me. But and they demonized men, because again, I think women are in a fight competing with men to prove that they are equal or better than. But the men that they're competing with are top 1% men, not us regular dudes. And you'll never meet that standard of Elon Musk. You just won't. They are going to be the tip of the spear no matter what. They're going to work harder for it than women will. It is proven by the way that they are the richest people in the world. Okay? All the rich men in the world had to earn it themselves. A lot of the rich women in the world got it through divorce. I'm not saying they didn't earn it all. I think Oprah never was divorced. But like most of them, a lot of them didn't do it alone. They had some type of a whatever. And obviously there's trust fund babes and everything else for guys and girls, but I don't know that Elon Musk was a trust fund baby, but either way, he took that and turned it into so much money that he could never run out of money. And no woman's done that yet. And there will be someday, I'm sure. Let's not get into a battle of sexes, but all I'm saying is we're built for this and women aren't, and that's a whole nother conversation. Let's see if we can.
We have to just get our six, maybe provide for them, and we need to, educate them a little bit. But I don't think we need to be screwing them. I don't think we need to be having sex with them. I think we need to treat them as the possible children that they could be in our lives, and hold them to that. It's that's where I stand on it.
Yeah. Again, that might be a motherly instinct to want to, and that is very similar to what men do in relationship already. So it's not necessarily a foreign concept for us to deal with a smaller, weaker vessel and guide them in a way. Again, but the facts are, I'm in my prime. Physically, I'm lower than I've ever, not lower than I've ever been, but when I was 20, physically, I was, obviously, pro athletes are 20 years old. But now that I'm 40, mentally, I'm far more ready for it than I ever was. But now my body is starting to break down. So there's that. But men are not judged on necessarily their physical beauty attributes, more on their earning and mind capabilities, where women are judged on their beauty more than otherwise. And I know that's not fair, but life isn't fair. So the beauty standards for women, the brains and the strength is for men. So you can be beautiful and dumb as a woman and nobody cares. You can be beautiful and smart as a woman and they'll look at you the same way. As a man, if you're dumb, nobody cares, you know? But if a man, if you're smart, I'm talking about a 40-year-old man, if you're smart because it's shown because of where your life is and who works for you and what your income and your net worth is. So that's how we judge men. That's why fat, old, ugly dudes that are rich have young girls. Robert Kraft owns the New England Patriots and had got married 2 years ago to a 24-year-old. That's how influential he is in life, in the world. So there's that. Okay, then we're going to continue on here with the next portion of this. I know this is a little hectic. This is not my style, but I'm spitballing here.
So I'm going to add on to that. First of all, I'm going to explain my dating role, which I know I've explained to you, but maybe you forgot. So I do not, if you are closer in age to my oldest child than you are to me, then like I don't consider you a potential mate. That feels weird to me.
So the weird feeling, there's a lot of weird feelings in life. It can be backed by some. You'd have to ask why 7 times to get to where that actually is rooted in, but there's no logical judgment or argument for why or not that age range is what it is. It's just a feeling. And those can be solved with logic if you ask why 7 times.
Yes, so I like everything you said.
The wrong one. Let's see.
With your permission.
Let's see here.
So I'm going to add on to that. Consider you a potential mate. That feels weird to me. If I could be your parent, maybe that's me as a mother who sees that, but like I don't.
Again, as a man or a husband, we feel like the parent role in any relationship we're in, because that's us. That's what we're called to do: guide and lead and protect and raise. So.
If I could have some type of a role in your life where I would be your mom, then I don't see you as a potential mate. And so I kind of wanted to further that into like the idea too. So when you look at these men who are like in their 40s and their 50s and they're dating these 20-something women, these 20-something women are usually in a different part of their life. I mean, they are at the most fertile part of their life. They are ready for children. They're ready for this. A lot of these men who are older dating these women, other than Leonardo DiCaprio,
I'm going to, before I hear the argument, I'm going to say 40 and 50-year-olds that can date 20-year-olds have figured it out. They're not homeless bums or dudes working at McDonald's. They figured it out. They know they know how to make money. They know how to have power. And now they want a young. That's how you get to dating 20-year-olds, is you have money and power and influence. And then sure, there's the occasional scam or con artists in there. I'm sure guys who just are lurking around college bars wearing their Letterman jacket. I'm sure there's some of that. But for the majority of it, any chick that's banging a 50-year-old in her 20s, she's got to play and he's got to play. And his play is the yacht and her play is the Birkin bag or whatever. It's not like just regular old 50-year-olds who don't have a 401k and a nanny and a vacation home. It's like those are the type of guys who are able to date 20-year-olds. Women are very perceptive of, what's going on. Now, you won't find that dude in a college bar. You're going to find him sitting in the box seats of the F1 race, and you're 21. So how do you meet a billionaire? You got to put on a nice skirt. You got to work for the number cards. You got to be seen. You got to serve them drinks with a smile. You got to work at a country club. That's how that happens. It doesn't happen at Taco Bell. So those guys are more winners than losers than you think, I would say.
Than you are women. These 20-something women are usually in a different part of their life. I mean, they are at the most fertile part of their life. They are ready for children. They're ready for this. A lot of these men who are older dating these women, other than Leonardo DiCaprio, usually already have older adult children who are old, in some cases older than the women they are dating. And they're in a different part of their life. And, you know,
Yeah, that's kind of the point of it. They may not want kids, but they know she wants kids and they can afford to do it now. So it's kind of, Leonardo DiCaprio is absolutely one of those examples, but he doesn't want kids, I would say. But again, it's not regular 50-year-olds that are dating 20-year-olds. It's dudes with yachts, dudes with businesses, dudes with trust funds, and they're able to throw money at the mistakes they make to sort of better their life. You know what I'm saying?
It's like some of these women might get in there and then, you know, they're told that they're not allowed to have these babies because these men just don't want them. They just want the younger wife. And so then, yeah, that's how you end up with like this situation of like regret or whatever. But like,
no, that regret is a real thing. But the fact is as a 20-year-old, you know what you want in life or you don't. And most of them don't. So you're going to spend the next 7 years dating a 50-year-old billionaire. And if you don't learn anything, which is really what it comes down to, we got to teach our daughters how to pick men. But he doesn't want to have kids. So you're going to only give him 4 or 5 years. You got to get in and get out. But learn the game. You can only be naive and claim naivety so long, you know. And I'm not trying to victimize women or make them out to be anything lesser, but like, you know what you're doing. We can make the excuse because you're younger, but really you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing if you're at a yacht party in a bikini out in Bermuda. You know what you're doing out there. At this day and age, you got on that yacht party because your ass is tight and you look flirtatious. You don't have to do anything when you get there, but you know how you got there. You know what your ticket was. It wasn't money. And so you have all the right to deny anything extra and just go and enjoy the yacht and come back home. But most girls aren't doing that. We know that. And so you're playing with fire, then don't act like you're the victim, per se. We know what we're doing on the yacht. We bought the yacht, so when we get on the yacht, that's why you teach your sons to buy yachts, you teach your daughters to never take selfies on yachts, because it's just the wrong side of the equation, okay? But it's not necessarily all innocent on either side of that ball, you know. And potentially the guy who's just here, I just want to have a good time, treat you nice, and then go home, is probably a more straightforward story than the sob story of why you had to pay for college by stripping, and then you need this, and what you really out for is to try to get the next best thing that everybody else has on social media so that you can post about it. It's not even a real life. And then what comes from that? You're still chasing the wrong dreams. When you're 20, what we should be teaching women about is in your 20s, what the real value in life is. It's not a Birkin bag. It's finding a man that's going to love you and treat you right. Because if you find that guy, you will have the fruits of life that you want. If it's children, then it's children. If it's not children, if it's travel, then it'll be travel. Don't date a dude that works at Taco Bell. Date a guy with a college degree. Support him. Build something with him. Help him to get to his dreams. Help him to stay focused. Help him to relieve stress. And then he will, because you respect him, he will give you the world to the best of his ability. But what it comes down to is it doesn't come down to the world that he gives you. It comes down to the community that you build with him. The communion of the two, the couple, is far more important than where you live or what car you drive. Finding love that works in a relationship where you feel seen and heard and protected is far more important than having a mansion or seeing Bali every Thursday or every summer. You know what I mean? So we need to really refocus the attention of what we're telling our little girls they should be focused on far sooner. It used to be more marriage, but now it's don't get married till you're 36. Of course, at 36, you got some trauma. Billionaires aren't trying to deal with trauma. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
These guys come in, and I really do think there's, this father figure thing. There's like a lot of Freudian stuff going on there, like she probably didn't have the protection from her dad. Her things, he probably wasn't around a lot. She doesn't have the type of stability in her life. So of course she's going to seek out older partners, whether that is a man or a woman, because she doesn't have those things in her life. She needs to be parented.
But not having those things is not necessarily an excuse to date somebody without those things or to look for somebody of your own age group. Again, hypergamy says you're going to try and find, when I was in high school, we were freshmen. The freshman girls were dating sophomores, or they were dating freshmen for their first date. When I was a sophomore, the sophomores were dating juniors. The hot ones, the ones that have been learning things, and everybody else was dating the same. When I was a senior, the senior chicks were dating guys in college. That just was what it was. They weren't trying to date dudes on their same level. Girls are not trying to date guys on their same level. That's just what it is. You don't shun the girl for it, but we have a society where we shun the man for it. Now, if you are at your peak potential and you're in the upper 10% of women at your peak potential, that means you're one of the hottest 20-year-olds on the market. You have the ability to attract billionaires. So all we need to do is teach you the game sooner. Because if you don't want to attract a billionaire, then put on the rest of your clothes before you go outside. But since you aren't wearing your clothes, you clearly are seeking attention. Don't take attention from the guy working at Taco Bell. He's only going to give you babies and headaches. Take attention from the guy that can take your life to the next level. Some guy with a career, a business, a yacht, something. At least you're, as a net, moving your life in a positive direction. It's still going to be a headache because every relationship is. But you can't blame a guy at his full potential for wanting less bullshit out of a woman by seeking a young woman. And you can't blame a girl at her full potential for wanting the best man she can get. And the best man she can get is the one that can provide the life that she sees. And as a man, now that I look at this equation, it makes sense. But when I was raised by women, it didn't make sense. It was seen as predatorial. And that, again, I believe is because in order for a woman to date a younger man, she would have to be a predator because he has nothing to offer her. And she is actually in a predatory state of like, nothing else is working out. I'm going to find this young boy that doesn't know any better and at least show him a good time or have a good time with him, right? Whereas dudes that try to do that are quickly dealt with, I would say. So it kind of starts to make more and more sense. Now I'm still heavily, filled with what I was raised with. And so when I see 20-year-olds, I don't think, ooh, let's go holler. 20, when somebody says they're 20 something, I genuinely flinch and be like, well, yeah, too young for me. And part of that is because I'm built that way. And part of it is because I know what 20-year-olds want. They want to have a good time. They want to go to clubs. They want to travel. They want to be seen, posting. They want to be on their phones all the time. And I'm old. I'm too old for that. You're not going to enjoy your time with me because I'm about Friday nights in on the couch. I like movie nights in pajamas. I don't want to be at the club till 4 in the morning. So me dating a 20-year-old doesn't make sense because I can't afford to keep up with that, nor do I want to or have the desire to. Now, if I was a billionaire, I don't know if that would change anything. I would probably tolerate less, but no, just who I am and where I am in life. If I was a billionaire, I would have put in some work and have something more on the line than just being out at the club. So we will go to the club to blow off steam and do cocaine, maybe. That's what billionaires do, right? And then we're back on the grind. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me because I'm a regular dude versus, these rich guys. But let's see if I can catch this button.
Yes, so I like.
Let's see here.
Her dad put her on a pedestal and it was fine. She probably didn't have the protection from her dad. He probably wasn't around a lot. She doesn't have the type of stability in her life. So of course she's going to seek out older partners, whether that is a man or a woman, because she doesn't have those things in her life.
So my question is, should she seek out a partner that is not stable or somebody that is stable to that specific statement? I would say she should find a more stable partner than a less stable partner because she lacks stability, and that's why we go into a relationship, is for the things that we're lacking more so than what we have.
Needs to be parented. She needs to be shown things. But then again, it's kind of like that thing you posted the other day, and the guy was talking about how, like, her dad put her on a pedestal and it was fine because obviously they weren't having sex. So if she's seeing you as a parent, or if this boy is seeing you as a parent, and they're putting you up on this pedestal and things like that, and then you throw sex into it, it's weird.
Yeah, that is very weird. I don't think women go to the bars to find parents or go to a yacht party to find a parent or wherever you find billionaires. I don't think women sit at the half court line at the NBA games looking for a guy that thinks he wants to be her parent. I think they go there with a specific intention of finding somebody that can provide some luxury to their life. So I don't think the parent equation falls into that because they're not looking for a parent. And if you try to tell them what to do, they probably say, "You're not my dad anyway." But yes, continuing.
It's, that just, I don't know, that just creates like a different dynamic that I don't really want to be a part of, and I don't want to have to experience, and I don't want to have to justify that, she's just a girl and she knew what she was doing.
That's very fair. Part of being a man is taking that responsibility for the relationships that we're in and that accountability for it. So I can see where, like, dealing with a younger person and inevitably screwing up, which is an 80% chance you'll screw up. Who wants to be responsible for that? No women do, but men, we're responsible. We're accountable for the relationship. Ideally, a man like me. So, yeah, if I fail you, I just hope that I can gracefully fail you enough that at least you see there was a benefit to knowing me as you move on through life and you learn some things from me. But that's the case with a 40-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, or a 50-year-old. No matter who I deal with, I want them to benefit from knowing me more than I take benefit from knowing them. So that makes sense.
Her brain's not fully developed. She can consciously say yes, and she knows in some way what she's doing, but get her 6-7 years down the line, she might really regret some of those decisions.
And that's interesting as well. 20-year-old dates a guy, a billionaire, or a guy with a yacht, or a guy with a business. A 40-year-old that's successful for 7 years. She's going to regret that he didn't marry her. That's what she's going to regret. And the reason why he won't marry her is because if she never learns how to be his partner. That's the only thing I think they regret. Unless he's some asshole beating her and otherwise. But like, if you get into a real relationship with a real dude who's 40 and you're 20, you're staying with him because you want to get married. So if you do break up, inevitably, whenever relationships end, women see it as a waste of time and they regret it. But if women understood what relationship was about and how important it was to choose a man, and if you choose him, to choose to learn him and to grow with him and to be what he needs. And if she did that, which none of her friends are telling her to do that, they're telling her, hey, make sure he flies you out business class. They're not saying, hey, learn what his favorite food is and try to learn how to cook it, or figure out how he feels respected most and duplicate it and then multiply it. They're not teaching her that. They're teaching her to take what she can get and continue to pull out of him. And he might get tired of that. But if again, she's dating a real man, masculine, 40 years old, that is here to support her, he's chosen her for a reason. It's up to her to screw that up by not following the riverbanks, right? The women are the water, the men are the banks of the river. So we're trying to lead you down a certain way. You can do what you want to do with that, but that's how every relationship is set up, I think. So this is all hypothetical, of course, but any 40-year-old that decides to date a 20-year-old without the intent of actually leading her and marrying her or molding her into a wife, sure. But if he is, in fact, putting the time into her, and if it's not, it's just money up front. It's just like, hey, come over, we have some sex, I take you out to dinner, buy you a nice dress, and go back to your parents' house. That's one thing. That's just dating. But if you're in a relationship and you're actually part of his life and you're not a secret because he has a wife somewhere else, then he's doing it because, hey, I can spend time with this girl as long as she grows and learns me. That's the key to a relationship, is learning your leader because he's studying you. You know what I'm saying? At least in my opinion.
And she might not. And again, there's selfish individuals at that point of their life, and
which the risk is on the man if she's selfish.
Want to be part of something that pushes their selfishness into like a bigger decision. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's a lot of, I think, with our youth, we need to look to nurture them, and we need to look to maybe provide for them, and we need to educate them a little bit. But I don't think we need to be screwing them. I don't think we need to be having sex with them. I think we need to treat them as the possible children that they could be in our lives, and hold them to that. It's that's where I stand on it.
Yeah. So again, I understand the sentiment of it, but again, if I'm in Monaco on my yacht, and a 20-year-old in half of a skirt comes on my yacht, I'm not there to be a father figure, and she's not there to find a dad. Maybe a daddy, but not a dad, right? And so we know what we're here for. Why are you in Monaco? You don't even speak Italian. You know what I mean? So there's an innate issue with the potential of a very successful man being an asshole and taking advantage of people because that's how he got to where he had to get to. There's a real threat of that, I'm sure. But let's just say a regular dude, not a dude with a yacht, but just a guy who's about his business. He's got a nice truck hauler business, makes good money, goes out to a bar, some cute 20-year-old keeps looking at him. He says, what's up? He's not about to try to risk everything for a 20-year-old. But if they happen to get into a little situation and he finds out, she's kind of young, but she's cute, that's all you need to be wife material. You just have to not mess it up. So he's saying, okay, she's young, she's cute, I like her, she's fun. Let's see where this can go. He's not doing that for the sake of pump and dump. He's got a business. I'm working, I'm doing this. Now, at a 20-year-old, you're selfish. You're going to have issues with him having to get up at 4 a.m. to go do what he's got to do. You're going to give him flack about it. Eventually, it's going to make stress in the relationship. You're going to have to learn to deal with the fact that you work with a man, or you live with a man, or you're in relations with a man who has to put his business first in order to supply a lifestyle and an enjoyment for you. And if you do adapt to that, and you adapt to his communication style and his leadership style and his love style, he sees you, he's studying, he's thinking about you. Because when guys are in relationships and we go to work, at least me, no matter who my boss is, I'm working for my woman. You got the right dude, I'm about to swing this hammer. Because every time I hit it right, that's money in the bank. That's me securing my ability to make money so I can bring it home. Because dudes like me, we don't earn a check just to spend it on Jordans. And I do have Jordans, but we earn a check because there are people that we want to take care of. There's a life that we want to lead. So, barring the filthy rich who have weird obsessions, if you're just a successful 40-year-old and you come across a 23-year-old in a bar when you're out on a job and you just go to blow off some steam, society's going to shun you for it. But the truth is if you're at your peak earning potential with trajectory and she's at her peak beauty and fertility stage, you're technically evenly matched. And if she wants to learn how to be a wife, because everybody wants to be married, nobody wants to be a wife. You know that saying? If she wants to be a wife and she sees this guy's got enough power and resources to give her a lifestyle that she wants, that's cowboys and angels. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess. But we are trained to see it that way if we don't grow up around enough good men, I would say. Because a 40-year-old in a college town drinking with no money, having to borrow money or wash dishes to pay for his drinks, will flush himself out of the system. It's hard to even get in. He's going to be a smooth talker. He's going to be a con man. But barring the con men and barring the billionaires, just somewhere in the middle, 40-year-old dudes are actually focused on something in life. And to prescribe for a young woman of peak market value to rather date dudes that are just going to devalue her, basically 20-year-olds and 23-year-olds, is a silly prescription when she could be garnering the love of a 40-year-old that can actually lead her somewhere and teach her something. And obviously, once you pair off with somebody, you can get rid of your miniskirts. You don't need those. You know what I mean? When you pair off with a real man, you don't have to go out in thong bikinis. You can just wear regular swimsuits now. And you can move in this lifestyle, you know? So I've since changed my idea of it, although I'm still slightly disgusted by just a little bit the idea of like a 20-year-old because they're reckless and selfish and whatever else. But the concept is growing on me as I understand what men are. And where we land. We start at the bottom and work our ways to the top. When I'm at the top, because if I'm 20 and you're 20, you can get into clubs and get on the yachts, and I got to stand on the beach with the homies. I can't do those things. Only way I get on the yacht is if I buy the yacht. Now that I bought the yacht, I'm subject to 20-year-olds and 23-year-olds trying to get on the yacht. So now what am I supposed to say? Well, I can't say I don't want to have a 20-year-old on my yacht or a 23-year-old on my yacht because they're young and beautiful, you know? And the thing is women are born with that facility. And it takes style and grace and favor and skill to sustain that for 10 or 20 years. And that's where you really find, to me, the beautiful things in life, you know. As you know, I typically date older women, you know. And I don't mean like, but older than me. I don't really look for women in my age group, but somewhere above that. So once you find a good-looking 40-year-old or 50-year-old, you like, yeah, you've been holding on to it like that. That's pretty impressive because when you date 20-year-olds, you have to judge them based on their mother's looks. You see what I'm saying? But when you date 40-year-olds, you already know what they're going to look like. You see, because they're... and beauty is, to me, and to most men, the single most valuable asset in the world. Men die for it. Helen of Troy. I don't know. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the feedback. I'm always going to challenge what I think is truth. And this was an opportunity to do that. So I thank you for that. Let's just keep growing. Let's just keep learning. Let's not think we have it all figured out because we never will. And hey, I'll see you on the next one.